Guess maybe this is why he was so angry today, that he falsely reported a reporter being on his lawn when she wasn't. He was relieved of his duties effective immediately as soon as they declared mistrial today. And I don't think that they should blame him. Like, what, are they making him the fall guy because they failed? They failed to get a jury to accept that she did that? I'm sure he may have had an effect. I am glad that they relieved him, but it's sad that he wasn't relieved already after they learned the things he did, and that he was inappropriately saying things, pretending like he's meeting somebody for the first time, that he's been lifelong friends with them. The reason that I believe that there was a mistrial is because you had, and I don't want to hear from anybody that says there was like, as soon as somebody makes one comment about 11 to 1, oh, there's one jury holding out. No, sadly, there were multiple jurors that was for her guilt, or at least more than one. It said some, that's plural, were believed that, the state had met its burden, and then it said others, being plural, believed that they had not. It sounded, based on the statements, that it was equally divided. But Proctor was actually a small part of the problems the state had. In my opinion, the state shot itself in the heart when you had Trooper Paul say that at 12:45, the car data states she collided into John at 12:45 a.m. going 24 miles per hour, 60 feet, and then collided. You have scientific data that they claimed proved that there was an accident. But then you had Trooper Guarino stating that nobody could have seen her at that house at 12:45 because she was at John O'Keefe's house at 12:36. Due to the fact his evidence reviewed technical data that she was at John O'Keefe's, and nowhere in the trial did they ever bring any expert in to say that that evidence was incorrect, that she was at John O'Keefe's at 12:36. And people put it together. They know the distance from the house, point A to point B. It would have taken her 8 to 10 minutes, so that means she left at 12:26 a.m., which is about the time he, according to Trooper Guarino, started walking at 12:22 and 10 seconds a.m. In that block of time, according to the Fit app, he was walking. Or according to Celebrite, they pinpointed the time, that movement, whatever it was. But then he also admitted that at 12:32 he was walking. So those are pretty serious shots in their own heart. When you have Trooper Guarino on cross-examination admitted that it is not possible for Jen McCabe or any other person to have seen her at that house at 12:45. That's a pretty big hurdle for a jury to overcome. Then you had sneaky, snaky Lally in the very end, after all this presentation, arguing that it was the taillight that hit him. He put a second-degree murder charge with the accusation that she beat him to death. And, like, what is a jury supposed to do with that? I'm very sad and disappointed in that community that they could not have seen just how egregious their own contradictions were to have found her guilty. That's frightening. Like, that just seems sus in my mind, that anybody was willing to find her guilty. But you had several people that were, it sounded like it was pretty equally divided based on what they were saying, but I'm sure time will tell if jurors go forward and speak to anybody. But this guy, I don't think that he should have been relieved a long time ago. I think he was on, like, administrative leave, but he should have been relieved. He should have also been prosecuted because, he's violating HIPAA. He's sharing medical data. I'm not sure if he's caught up in the 71 count federal charges of conspiracy, falsifying reports, taking bribes, but he had text messages with his friends about giving him gifts. He said that wasn't a bribe, but you have other state troopers, 6 of them defendants in the January 2024 federal charges, 71 count. I did a video on that with a link to that case and document that I pulled. And they were giving golden treatment to other troopers and police across the state of Massachusetts whose names were redacted. So it's possible that some of the troopers and police that testified in this case may have been people that were giving bribes to those state troopers who were issuing such licenses. There was one person, at least in that case, from Canton, who was a tow truck driver who half owned a company whose name first initial starts with P. So, you know, why do they wait till after the verdict? So would he have been relieved if there was a guilty? You see what I'm saying? So even suggesting that he was relieved of his duties after the mistrial is just egregious. Like they're trying to make it out like it's all his fault that they didn't get a conviction. And I say that's just a bunch of rubbish. What he did was awful, and he should have been relieved a long time ago. But he's like small coins in the failure factor to get a conviction. One, she's innocent. Two, I'm sorry, you had Jen McCabe and all these people lying and contradicting each other. And I'm going to share just 4 points of contradiction. Officer Sheriff on day 1 said there was only light dusting of that amount of snow on top of John O'Keefe. There was 6 inches on the ground, light dusting on top of him. That's consistent with what Lucky said. When Lucky said he went by at 2:45 and there was no body on the ground at that time. So it means he missed all that snow. And so Officer Sheriff also said there was falsification of a record. The report was false. It had those officers there earlier than they were. So moments when she was describing what happened. Then you have Carrie, who said there was 4 inches on top of him. So he contradicted her. And he testified more consistently with Lucky, the plow driver. And then you had Trooper Paul, who was saying that according to his study of the car ADR, the data of that box or data of the car showed that she was going 24 miles an hour, and he said specifically the collision happened at 12:45 a.m. And then you had Trooper Guarino on cross-examination say it's not possible for Jen McCabe and all those who were trying to put her there at that specific time to have seen her on location there at 12:45 because she was at John's house, auto-connected to Wi-Fi at 12:36. It's 2.3 miles. It takes 6 minutes in light traffic and snowy conditions. It would have took at least 8 to 10 minutes. Okay? And so she dropped him off. He got out of the car around 12:22. He's walking around until 12:24, which is consistent. And then you have Lally himself saying in opening that it happened, around that time, and that the car is what caused the accident. And then at 12:25, it shows that they can pinpoint that phone and its location down to 2 to 3 feet, and it did not move after 12:25. And the problem with that is, then you're saying the collision happened at 12:45. So if the phone did not move after 12:25, then how did she hit him 20 minutes later, throwing him 30 feet? You see what I'm saying? They shot themselves in the heart. How dare Lally even try to suggest that it's all Trooper Proctor's fault? He's definitely part of the problem. Sure. Yeah, he sure is. But Trooper Guarino's cross-examination basically called Jen and all those people at the party a liar. Then you have Ryan Nagel, who says that he was behind Karen and there was nobody in the car when he left. So he was talking to, his sister or whatever, and he did not notice while she was moving forward. He didn't see her move forward. He just noticed that she had moved forward, which means he didn't pay attention to what was going on with her in a car. So that means he could have gotten out of the car and he hadn't noticed. So when he passes by her car, there's nobody in that car with her. And that means he got out of the car at that time. So, I am flabbergasted that anybody could find her guilty. And, yeah, so I'm glad that this man is relieved of his duties. He can't hurt anybody else. He falsely accused a reporter who was standing in the middle of the street of being on his lawn. He falsely accused Karen Reed's attorney of being at the school or somewhere harassing people, and he was just there talking to a witness. Okay? how many people through the years has he falsely reported things? You know, it's just, anyways, so he's gone. Now there needs to be a removal of Adam Lowley and Chris Morrissey. Those people who are in power, specifically though Adam Lowley, because he's the one that directly suborned perjury by putting Albus on the stand, knowing there's hospital records showing that Chloe had bitten other people, that there was allegations at the very least of them attacking other people, and he put them on the stand and said, so that they can say that there was never any allegations of that dog attacking any human. And so that is deliberate, willful suborning of perjury, which is a violation of bar ethics, and it is criminal to having evidence of hospital records of people who have accused that dog to let them lie and say there was no accusations. He needs to be prosecuted. He needs to be petitioned to the Bar Association for his removal. And I think the judge colluded with him, knowing that there was evidence that definitely that dog has bitten people, and you colluded with Adam Lowley, she colluded with Adam Lowley to be allowed to suborn criminal perjury, and she even accused the doctor that came forward to testify that those were in fact dog bites according to her experience, and she accused her of having, it's alleged, she said that she had read reports about the dog bites. So she knew about dog bite reports, yet she allowed Lowley to put those people on the stand to say there was never any accusations. And so that's just not something you can do. And in the very end, Lowley, after having this whole 8-week trial to say that it's the car that hit him, it's the car that hit him, and argue with PhD doctors, and that, you know, it's just like they don't know what they're talking about, insisting that it was the cartel light that caused his injuries. And in the end, and not until the last minute, he presents them with a second-degree murder charge that says she beat him to death. And I can imagine that infuriated with juries. I would be so livid. I'm like, you did not just make me sit here for 8 weeks of my life that I can't get back to try to convince me that a tail light caused those injuries, and now you're going to say for the first time to me that you haven't presented any evidence, you're going to just throw it out there that she beat him to death, which is completely opposite. I would have been angry at the DA. I am angry at the DA. Like, and people, the media, of course, hiding what Lowley did, they don't want anybody to know, so they're going to use Proctor as the reason they failed. And I say, call BS when BS exists. And this is Dookie Doo.